Guys, we're on Sanctuary first. Didn't know what the rotation was going to look like. As George was saying, aerial map, there's no ceiling, so the sky is the limit.
I'm pretty sure there's a huge ceiling. The ceiling is actually ridiculously low on Sanctuary. I can't remember if they've changed it. I don't believe they have, but the ceiling is really low. You can hit it by jumping on Winston. Oof. So I don't really expect too many teams to be running Winston on this map. And Farah, although she has some fantastic angles where she can shoot through windows and stuff, you can't fly very high. You're very, very at risk by being so low to the ground. So that's fully expected from both of these teams, both running out of the gate with the 3-3 or the GOAT setup, as we tend to call it, as their starting opener.
Very aggressive start from Young and Beautiful to take control of the point early, but here comes Morning Stars, swiftly pushes them off as Malzaza leading the charge as that big frontline leader. She's going to press forward, but look at the space occupied by Dragon Eddie on top of the drum. He's just able to rain down those micro missiles on top of the rest of the teams. They're just contesting over that early positional advantage to get that first cap. Young and Beautiful seem to have more bodies on the point, but Morning Stars are by no means looking to give this one up just yet.
Yeah, Dragon Eddie more than happy up here on the high ground, I think, as well. Just constantly raining down rockets. Even when he gets shoved off by Danny, he jumps straight back up there again. But it's going to be that Moira ult coming out. This is what you look for to last in these fights for a long time, and then hose everyone down.
Interesting that you'd actually see Morning Stars come out on top of this one. Huge shatter by Tonic to knock everyone down. That's going to be a follow-up from Young and Beautiful. It was looking like a one fight for Morning Stars. And I was going to start questioning why it's working when you have the Moira into the Zen option that Young and Beautiful are bringing out themselves. That
shows quite a bit of discipline, if nothing else, on the side of Young and Beautiful. Because if you're playing this GOATS comp with the Moira, you want to go for those longer engages. Your healing is far superior to what the Zen can kick out because of that AoE healing you give to your whole team. The aim of the Zen kind of GOATS, in a way, is to put the Discord down to the Rhine and kill him quick. But Young and Beautiful, they took their time and didn't feel any need to pressure onto Morning Stars. But once they found the opportunity with the Shatter, well, they definitely came out on top.
Well, this time, Morning Stars are going to adapt to that the Zen pick themselves. They pull out Exo-Raph. They have Graviton Surge pulling them all together. Thankfully, they have a sound barrier from Dezachu to keep everyone alive. Ding's still going to find Casper in the carnage. So, man, disadvantage for Morning Stars. An Earth Shatter put into the shield sooner. Still caught off a little bit too far to the right. He'll get back up, though. Not enough aggression coming out from Morning Stars to capitalize it. They're a man down. Speaking of aggression, Young and Beautiful taking the fight to them, pushing them all the way back to the spawn room. No other casualties on this retreat. That's an isolated leaf. Without that protective barrier, he could have been dead. But there's some aggression that's finally been punished. Graceful going down by Exo-Raph, and the respawn is coming from Morningstar. They're going to put their foot on the gas and take it straight back to Young and Beautiful and get it back on the point. Transcendence is being traded by Exo-Raph and Ding, who will now lose his life to Dredro. That's going to be a flip point over for Morningstars.
He may be called graceful, but his play then was anything but. Basically just charged straight into a 6-man and got burst down, but I think he realized his error very quickly when he tried to run off to the right-hand side. But Morning Stars were like, no, you're going to make a mistake like that. We are 100% going to punish you for such a grave error. And once he got picked down, well, with no Brigitte, it gives all the opportunity for Morning Stars to push back in. So a bit of over-aggression being shown by Young and Beautiful there, gets rightly punished by the other side.
Forward hold position by Malzaza. Is going to slowly retreat with the rest of his team.
Look at Leaf.
Where is he, Des?
He was off to the left-hand side. He's changed. There you go.
Well, there's not much he can do there. He's pulled up with a Graviton Surge. Self-destruct around the corner. We'll find Tonic with the help of that Flame Strike. Ding, of course, going to take out Dragon Eddie, who's obviously using the self-destruct to expose himself to damage, pin against the wall. Should get a D-Mech by himself, but the healing is strong enough from Young and Beautiful to deter that from happening until that hammer swing comes in. Malzaza are going to clear him out. Casper with the double onto Suna and Danny. It's Morning Stars maintaining control of the map so far.
Yeah, both teams playing around those pillars with the Graviton Surges as well. Both caught each other into the middle of it fully enough, but one side had that self-destruct out and one side did not. Morning Stars going very aggressive here. They could get punished if Young and Beautiful play this smart.
Well, it's the same thing that happened to them to get back into the game, but Exo-Raph has taken out Graceful, so they're already missing one. Earth Shatter onto the floor. Not sure how many bodies that hit. I don't think it's that many because the pace of the fight didn't really change. His Malzaza should be able to take out Dredro. So, Morning Stars matching that percentage from Young and Beautiful. They are sitting outside their spawn room, which puts them in a very precarious position.
And Young and Beautiful burnt 3 ults in that attempt to push back as well, yet still struggled to make any real ground. And the problem was, not everyone was there. There was still a couple back in spawn room as well, even when they came for that initial push out. So down in the numbers, did end up costing the fight at the back of that one. We're now at 80% towards Morning Stars, and Young and Beautiful at 70. They could win one fight here and potentially flick it round, but they've got to make it work this time round. They're going to be leading in with no ultimates, and on the other side, there's Trans and Graviton Surge.
Well, they're using the pillar to isolate Tonic, removing those sight lines for the healing options of Exo-Raph. And that healing orb, Tonic's going to go down early. Young and Beautiful want to buy as much time as they can for their comrades to come back to them. But I don't know, they're going to have to force something aggressive to get on the point and contest, keep this game alive. Already going to lose that mech for the early push that Danny had to put onto that point, as they're going to chase over a lot of the bodies on the back line. Sound barrier being burned through so quickly by Casper. Malzahar going to find Suna with that flame strike that's going to sit on the point in the Transcendence that Exo-Raph can give them and just pick off all the stragglers. Overtime ticks down. First round going over to Morningstars.
I'd have been very interested to see how that round would have gone if Young and Beautiful hadn't over-pushed towards Morningstar spawn, and in fact have managed to hold on for it for just a little bit longer. That next fight could have been theirs if they'd got a couple of ultimates online, but pushing into Morningstars with that Graviton Surge, with how tight Sanctuary is, you're pretty much guaranteed to lose a member as soon as a Grav gets thrown down. Now we go into Mecha Base, and as the Des said quite rightly, this is very, very tank-heavy. Lots of very narrow chokes that you can force your way through. As a GOATS comp, don't expect too much change to come through there at the very least.
Getting ready, Diva at home, sitting in the bedroom. Love hearts, of course, all round. Like I said, I've already expressed my love for this map. I'm sure a lot of the players are the same. Gonna have their own preferences, though. I think each player has their own favourite map. Might not be universal. All I remember is just the pick rate for Rialto in World Cup in Season 2. I think that was closest we've had to universal praise.
Pretty much, yeah. It was pretty insane. But both teams will start off pretty much in the exact same space. You tend to start up high here because just below there is a Mega Pack if you want to drop down and go for that as well. Trying to fight for the point, you'll be facing low ground versus high ground. It's not super ideal. So you get the first fight here. The winners then tend to drop down or go and take control once the point opens. But that's still 10 seconds away. Still
playing around the central pillar, so the map geometry is very important in where these fights are located. It's not just the height, it's what's obscuring vision. Young and Beautiful going to concede back to the point, knowing they can put the pressure on Morningstars to drop down because the point's unlocked. Danny's going to lose his mech early, and they're going to pull the trigger on the rest of the engagement. Malzahar jumps down. Casper the one to get the D-mech with a right click. They're playing around the terrain. These points are going to raise and fall, so they're going to have cover sporadically throughout this entire round. Malzahar finding Tonic with the flame strike, as Casper again with the high energy, sitting just sub 100. There's enough damage coming out from the rest of Morningstars to get that first cap.
Every 13 seconds they'll go up and down, and look at the ult lineup already for Morningstars. And then he got all 6 online just from one single fight, although it was a very, very elongated fight. Exactly like we said, you start on the high ground, you drop down as soon as that point starts opening up. Problem for Young and Beautiful was Danny didn't stay behind Tonic's shield, so he was so easy to focus down for Morningstars. Without that Diva in the way, without the Matrix, sorry, it's super easy to push forward and aggress.
Young and Beautiful don't want to mess around with the choke, using the Amped Up to force themselves into more open pastures. The Graviton Surge going to lock them down, make them close ranks. The self-destruct goes into the backline. Transcendence can't heal through Graceful as Malzahar gets a charge kill on Tonic. Trading a couple of ultimates for Morningstars, did get the trans from Ding. Plenty in the pocket of Young and Beautiful to try again.
And this is exactly a great example of why you like running GOATs as well. Look how tight this area is they're fighting in. Even when you come through the doorway, it's still a very enclosed out space, and the vision angles you can get with that third peeking around the corners, it's perfect. And there's some really good videos out there actually discussing how playing corners as GOATs is super important with the shields and being able to basically swing without being able to get discorded. But on the other side now, Young and Beautiful finally going for a push back in on towards the point as we hit 50%.
They've emerged as far as they possibly can outside of that gate. Dragon Eddy going to take the high ground again. Shatter drop down onto Malzahar. Sound barrier available. Dredro using that one early. Exo-Raph still has the trans in his pocket to use afterwards. So Malzahar got a shatter. He can just find the right time. Needs Leaf to come in, or he can do it all on his own. Finds the angle through the shield to get himself a couple of people sitting on the floor. Leaf there with the rocket flare onto Tonic. 70%. It's getting awfully close to Young and Beautiful losing this first map.
It is getting very close that way. And on both maps now, on Sanctuary and on Mecha Base, we've seen Young and Beautiful make the same mistake. Tonic has always got his shield online, but members are scattered to either side of the shield. The whole idea of having a shield there is that you can win that head-to-head shadow duel because everyone is safely tucked behind your shield. It forces the bash out of the Brigitte, but at the minute, Morningstars aren't being forced to do that.
Got a Grav Surge and their Transcendence available, about to be matched by Young and Beautiful. 3-1, Graceful finds the stun. Nice protected barrier, keeps Malzahar in the game. There's the Graviton Surge, pulls him up. Transcendence is there. Gonna keep them all topped up. Danny going down low. Transcendence answered by Young and Beautiful. There's their grab. Shatter planted into no one. Self-destruct. Blocked out by Tonic and the protected barriers from Suna. The kills are still going in favor of Morningstars. Danny taken out after a D-mech from Dragon Eddy. Self-destruct. Follows it up with a bumper kill onto Tonic. Nice angle from the side by Malzahar. Will get the solo kill onto Suna as he follows it up with a charge. 99%. No contest coming out from Young and Beautiful. Map number 1 going over to Morningstars.
Bit weird when it comes to these tank duels coming out of Young and Beautiful a few times. Shadows being dropped when they don't need to. Graceful, I mean, we joked about it yesterday. I think it was the guys who were speaking. They were like, you know, Flippy's the kind of guy who'll use the shield bash off charge. Graceful was quite literally using it as soon as it came off cooldown. In that final fight, he basically solo pursued the Reinhardt, who was on more than half health, used the shield bash, and then was like, see you later, I'm off, and ran away. And it's like, you need to be with your tank in that position, or be with your diva. Just give some kind of protection to your tanks so they're being melted down so you can actually stay in the fight. So Young and Beautiful got to get a bit tighter, play together, play behind that shield like we saw a few times with the Shadows if they want to be able to bring it back in the second map.
Just need to get that Rally to Me voice line on Reinhardt and on Tonic, and maybe they can perform a little bit better and not be caught out by those Earth Shatters. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you the second map. Welcome back. We're about to jump into map number 2, and we don't know what that is just yet. We do know it's going to be a hybrid type, so it can either be Hollywood or Numbani. We're speculating Numbani, though. We feel like that might be the option that Young and Beautiful are going to take into this one.
Only because I've cheated and spoke to the coach somewhat slightly. He said, we've got some fun strats on both maps, but we think Numbani is what we like. On the other side, though, it's always the question then of, do you say, well, we know the other side likes it, so do we counter and go to Hollywood instead? You've got sound reasoning for both sides here as well. But Hollywood, I feel, has been probably the overwhelming pick so far. We've seen a lot of player with that, with the Orisa and the Junkrat on the first point. But again, I think Numbani is probably what we will head to. Does make for a very interesting map, because we saw teams last week who who we didn't expect to get anything out of that map against their opposition, actually win the first point and then push almost all the way to the very end of the map. That second point seems a very kind of volatile area of the map. Numbani, perfect time to be speaking about it. It's a very volatile part of the map. We see quite a lot of flexibility in terms of what teams play as well. We
also saw some quad tank variation from British Hurricane yesterday. It's also quite interesting. Wasn't that successful. The only thing it did really achieve was burning through Hurricane's time. They're on offense, by the way, not on defense, so not a good thing.
I just want to see Torbjorn, man.
Do you want to see Torbjorn?
I really want to see someone employ new Torbjorn well. We saw it a little bit yesterday. It was on Hollywood first.
Defense A.
Yes, and that's the only time we've seen it, I think, so far. It didn't last very long, but...
It wasn't very successful. Did it manage to... lasted long enough to get a Molten Core out.
Yep. But I do appreciate... that look on your face. I do appreciate the flexibility teams are willing to risk almost in these games as well and try something different. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you're not favoured to beat a team, the best thing you can do is try and upset them by employing a strat they either aren't expecting or one that you haven't revealed to anyone else before. Surprise
factor has big potential. Speaking of which, Casper, he's spotted out the entirety of Young and Beautiful, feeding all that information over to Morning Stars. They know what's coming, and he's weaving himself in between the team, trying not to get himself revealed. Went for a cheeky little hack. Meantime, Graceful and Sooner, they've gone back and changed it up, going on to Soldier and Tracer, so avoiding these tank-heavy matchups to begin with.
I like it. So they've identified where the problems were and just thinking, right, well, if we're going to respond to playing against Sombra Doomfist, we need to respond in kind with something a bit more mobile, with a bit more range to be able to bring them down. Bingo's Leaf already.
Leaf on his Doomfist, something we're very excited to the prospect of, shall we say, in earlier seasons. Making it work right now was Young and Beautiful already go. Tonic finding Exoraph, overcharging those circuits, causing them to fry and break. Capture progress already about 50%. Leaf and Sue going to be picked off by Sooner. Graceful gets the D-Mech and the kill for his Troubles. Tonic, ding, taking out Malzazu and Dreedro. So, very slow, but very effective push from Young and Beautiful.
What I really liked about the whole of that push was Sooner's sole focus was to stick onto Leaf on the Doomfist and make him feel uncomfortable at all times. He knew that if he charged in, he was likely going to get a full pepper in from Tracer and get brought down very, very quickly. So he was playing defensive the whole time, which completely freed up Tonic to be able to dive straight into the back line, bring down Extrath in the 1 versus 1, and from there in that 4 versus 6 scenario with the Doomfist effectively eliminated, it was a very easy first push for Young and Beautiful. Now they've got 5 minutes to push through this second stage of the map.
On board with Exoraph, sit on the back line as you'd expect. He needs to be very careful of what's going to come at him. Tank-heavy compositions for the second stage. After the initial surprise, Malzaza winning out with a Flame Strike onto Graceful as they push forward, trying to get beyond that cart. Stop all progress, maybe challenge him outside their spawn room. Tonic going very low, all the Discord on him, needs to flip round the 180, get that shield up. Here comes the high energy from Zarya, burning through whatever defenses they're putting up. In retreat though, because the respawns are coming for Young and Beautiful, and the angle not ideal for Morning Stars.
Yeah, Extrath is one of these players I always like keeping an eye on. Very much so a high fragger in his team, you might say, and that's when he's not exposed at the back and going low. Got the Transcendence online. In fact, both sides have got a dink here as the opportunity to capitalise and pop it after. There it comes. Young and Beautiful should have the advantage in this fight.
Should do. There was a very nice bubble actually coming out from Casper to protect Malzaza from the self-destruct over the top of the card a second ago when that was going on. Keep him in the fight, keep it alive, and look at the effect it's having. When it's a 6v6 engagement, no one really wants to be too aggressive because they know how easily it can be punished. Graviton Surge is going to pull Malzaza, Casper, and Leaf together. Sound Barrier keeps him up. They're trying to push him against the terrain. Shatter put straight into Malzaza's shield. Now it's Morning Star's turn. They've got a bomb in your backyard. Not going to find anyone with that, but Leaf still manages to pick up Tonic and a D-Mech for his worries. Gustav getting picked off by a Flame Strike. It's all over for Young and Beautiful. They chase him right back to the spawn room, and they're about to set up shop.
It's a nice big catch at the end there as well onto Ding, because he had that armor under his shields from Graceful's ult that had come out just a few seconds ago. So picking him off means that he is still incredibly squishy and can be popped down by someone getting into the back line. That extra armor it gives doesn't feel like an awful lot, but when it's under a shield, it also reduces the damage you're taking from things like the small arms fire, which means you're a much tankier Zen than what your health bar might give away.
I remember when we were looking at Brigitte being released, and we were looking at the potential of a super tank Zenyatta in the hands of some players like Jonak, I'm speaking about in Overwatch League. Like giving that guy that ridiculous HP pool and resistances, unreal. Shatter through the payload, and it's found multiple members. Sound Barrier to try and cancel it all out, as you'd expect coming out from Gustav, but Leaf still finds a way. Tonic being dropped down by the Shield Maiden. Casper going to take out Graceful again, and kills coming in for Morning Stars, staggering out where they can. Young and Beautiful having a lot of their quite successful and substantial time bank burned away here before they can even get round the first corner.
We're not seeing much of the shield bash combo coming out of Young and Beautiful as well. That's probably the third time in this match as well, including the first half, including the first map, where Tonic has just burnt an Earth Shatter into a shield on the other side, and Mazas is there like, where was the threat? I could keep my shield up for free, you had no bash coming through, and we're looking for that to happen.
Graviton Surge dropped out, one was already eaten, I believe.
Yep.
And it's going to keep everyone in the fight. Danny drops that self-destruct onto Malzaza, pushing forward, so they have that man advantage. They need to capitalize, and Suna's doing just that. Leaf being the second one to fall as Ding takes out Exo-Wrath. They've got a D-Mech on the Dragon Eddy, following up that with a kill. Now the payload starts to get in motion, but because of the distance the Morning Stars have created for themselves, they've got time to fight before checkpoint B can be hit.
Danny eating that, and Dragon Eddy not eating the one coming out of Suna was a pretty big influencer there as well. That self-destruct going over the top and picking off Malzasa, just meant that whole frontline shielding fell down for Morning Stars. What has been a bastion for them so far, well, not quite literally a bastion, but a bastion of strength, you might say, was then removed, and they just got rolled over by Young and Beautiful. Look how close they are there. They've burnt 3.5 minutes at this second point so far, Morning Stars. It's been a fantastic defense.
1 minute 20 to go. Grav not eating that time. Casper getting that one out. Self-destruct over the top. Suna removed from the battlefield, and he's at 70% on the ult charge, so probably wouldn't have gotten that off quite so quickly. One fight for Morning Stars. And Young and Beautiful, they've got a long way to travel to get back on that payload.
Absolutely do, and they've managed to stall them out once again. This is where the kind of concern comes in now.
Ding.
Oh, stalled out. Yeah, expected. 1 minute left, though, on the clock. Young and Beautiful, they've got to make it work this time. I'm keeping my eye on Grace from this next fight as well, because he needs that shield bash to come through at the right time so Tonic can land that Earth Shatter onto the whole team, and that's how they manage to get through here. Depends, of course, if Exo-Wrath is smart enough to sit off to the side and pop the trans once his team have been shattered.
What Morning Stars got in their pocket, they got their own Earth Shatter rally to be used before the fight. Exo-Wrath with the Transcendence as well, hopefully will mitigate combination coming out from a Grav Shatter, or potentially just that Shield Bash Shatter. Look at that, doing it manual. Graviton Surge in response to block out the Earth Shatter. Transcendence already being used. Gustav with the attempt of the boop, wasn't able to get anyone displaced. They were all too close together and playing against the terrain. Earth Shatter put straight into the shield. No threat there for Morning Star. Self-destruct goes up in the sky. Lots of people exposed. Shield's going to cover it in the end though. Malzaza taking out Graceful. Casper onto Tonic. It looks like another one fight for Morning Stars, and with only 5 seconds in the clock, could be the end of Young and Beautiful's offensive attempt. There's Danny to try and stall it out. Without a mech, I'm not sure what's going to be achieved there. Discord Orb as well is just adding salt to the wound. Shred through it, nice and easy. Dragon Eddy with the chase down to Gustav. Think it's all over? It is now.
I don't know, man. Young and Beautiful. I think it's time to try something except goats here, because they've lost very decisively on our Koth map on Busan at the very start. They've just been rolled over by it yet again. The only fight they've won pretty convincingly was one where they managed to get the Graviton Surge and then drop their own down. The only other fight they won was the first push onto that defensive side, and they were not playing goats. That's the big thing I'm thinking of here, is that Young and Beautiful before have been regarded as like a few teams that come in maybe not as one of the top tier teams. You come in a bit scrappier, people tend to think of you as. You try and catch the other team off guard just through raw, sheer aggression. I'd like to see them return back to that.
And also you got to remember, one of the weaknesses we potentially highlighted with Morning Stars was their lack of versatility in what they're playing. They're just really good at playing these tank-heavy compositions. And if you get them off of it, you can expose some weaknesses. You're then trying to fight them. Like, there's the coin flip of that is that, you know, very strong on that particular composition and tank-heavy goats, shall we say. You're trying to match them on it. Probably got one of the best goats compositions in Europe, right?
Everyone says this about them, though, is that you've got Leaf, who's a huge Doomfist player, arguably one of the best we've got in Europe. You've got Casper, who plays literally everything. You give him a DPS, the guy can go away, learn it, and play it proficiently. And Malzaza last week really demonstrated his ability on the Winston as well. And realistically for Dragon Eddy, he's going to play D.Va all the time because it's what the team needs. They have got that flexibility in there, but when you can roll over them playing a comp like Goats, why show anything else?
Because stuff like this can happen. Anyway, let's look at the defense.
Talking about stuff like what can happen, Graceful.
I mean, this is going to make a lot of people excited. Personally, not me.
If it works, I'll be excited.
Eng Torbjorn is really the flashback. He's the OG Torbjorn in Europe, on Numbani in particular. But with new changes, Graceful trying to come at it again. Casper's going to spot out, I believe, everything that could possibly be there.
Change.
Obviously, change off that one.
Yeah,
what's going to be the solution? What do you throw at this composition, Des?
It's a tough one because the angles of offense you've got coming in from all sides Like, is Monkey Goats the answer? This is probably...
No,
it's better because what you're doing here is just forcing point and relying on the shields to be able to soak the damage coming out of the Torb, out of the Hanzo, for example. And in fact, yesterday we saw quite a bit of Hanzo coming back in, and even on the other side for Exorath, he's switching away from his beloved Zenyatta and going for all those heals. That says we want to take ground, we want to stay there, we do not want to get damaged or burst out. High ground seems to be the answer. Just force supports off the high ground onto the low ground, and then you can collapse on them.
Then you just take the low ground yourself. You got the high ground position being maintained by Graceful, so you might want to send someone over to deal with that turret. 16 HP, not a good position. Graceful finding the kill. Sleep dart onto Dragon Eddy, so the Ana's lingering around there somewhere. We'll drop him down, but now you need to buy time of your Morning Stars. You can't really commit to a 5v6 push, even if it is against something that you might be able to bully with a tankier composition.
They lose all that healing as well, so now Exo's kind of on the wrong side of the fence right now. He's behind the team.
Trying to get rid of the turret just while they're buying time here, but because you've just got Graceful stood up there with the hammer, he's happy to hit it and just keep it healed up. It is going to go down eventually because it was about 3 people focusing it.
The thing is now it's an auto builder as well. You haven't got to worry about that. Whoops, that got eaten very easily.
That's disappointing for Suna. Unfortunately, not going to be the clearance they're hoping for, so pressure's still going to be maintained by Morning Stars. Dragon Eddy taken out Ding. Tonic answers the call back onto Leaf, but Dragon Eddy's about to get hold of Gustav as well on the Brigitte. Can only shield bash for so long, keep his shield up. Now reinforcements are coming in, but the rest of Young and Beautiful are feeling the hurt for it. Casper taking out Danny after the D-Mech from Exorath. This time, Zuna gets that ultimate off. Uneaten did clear the path a little bit, but no one from Morning Stars dropping down. Not much going to be happening here. Point going over to Morning Stars. They now begin their offensive, and the benchmark they have to hit is not very far away.
As soon as they hit that Dragon, that was the confidence they need. Just go in and go for it as well. But not terrible. Hold Young and Beautiful did hold them for 45 seconds longer than what happened in the last round. So it's not terrible. It wasn't really successful, you might say, but it did give them something to think about on their initial push. You saw them losing Exorath very early on. He went from 200 HP to like 16, like in about half a second. Very scary situation to be in when your main healer goes that low that quickly.
It's Power Hanzo, I believe. Just a nice little tag out there.
And then the turret tinging away, and then you've got Graceful stood there as well, shooting. It's easy.
Well, Graviton Surge, that's a pretty easy combination. Dragon Eddy going up high over the shield to get that extra damage in. Lots of low HP counts there, and not many defensive ultimates from Young and Beautiful. They're just going to get rolled over. What a sheer aggression of Morning Stars. And they're going to have to reset fast because they are running out of time to contest this point.
And this is super hard because it's so difficult to defend this second point. You've got the third point spawn coming through for the defenders. You have to get all this way towards the second point and be able to touch it in time. They even had to go for Graceful on the Wrecking Ball to even try and touch the point.
Graceful, the man who can play anything, but how well can he play it all? Leaf taking out Tonic already. Going to get that remech, and the point's going to be walked in. Graceful unable to get that swing back onto the point. Quite comfortable and a very confident first half coming out from Morning Stars.
Again, the only 2 times Young and Beautiful looked to have given them something to think about was on that first point attack, and then again there on the defense with the Torb at first. And it's like I say, if they're going to try and match them in GOATs, Morning Stars has shown now across 2 rounds on Koth on the majority of Numbani that they just flat out win the GOATs matchup. Young and Beautiful, said it after the first map, I'm saying it again, you've got to mix things up here and keep them guessing what's going to come next.
Comp variety coming out. Like I said, we get our Torbjorn on Numbani. I know you were very excited to see that, and you're kind of looking forward to it. Worked initially, just a few problems with pulling off the successful teamfight combos. Like I said, Dragons getting eaten kind of is a big deal. You don't have that powerful ultimate to displace a tank-heavy composition and just allow them the freedom to be able to do what they want.
Absolutely. To desk.
To desk, maybe. Who knows?